and we are here to release the draft consolidated text of the Canada-European Union Free Trade Agreement. We are doing this today as European, provincial and federal negotiators gather in Ottawa for a third round of free trade talks, which have been progressing rapidly and very quietly until today. We feel that given the broad scope of the agreement and its many potential impacts on public policy in both Canada and the European Union, that it is unacceptable that the government has not decided to make this a national debate, to include as many voices as possible and to question whether in fact another free trade deal is what the world really needs in these times of economic, climate and social crises. Before I get to the documents we are releasing, I should say that this is a joint press conference of sorts. I will speak for the first part, and then on behalf of the Trade Justice Network, and then Scott Sinclair from the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives is here to release a report also related to these Canada-European trade negotiations. The Trade Justice Network is a group of environmental, labour, farmers, cultural and social justice organizations who came together this year because of serious concerns with the proposed Canada-European Union Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. Several members are here today, as you can see. I'll introduce them at the end. So in your brown paper envelopes, you will see that you have received a copy of the January consolidated draft text of the CETA. There are also fact sheets on that disc put together by the Trade Justice Network that will help explain some of the effects of the agreement as written, some of the effects it could have on public policy. The CETA had already been called the most significant bilateral trade negotiation since NAFTA, and the first to involve the provinces in negotiations. This document confirms it. Controversial provisions in the draft text would open Canada's telecommunications sector to full foreign ownership, stop municipal governments from implementing local or ethical purchasing strategies, require a burdensome necessity test for prudential, financial or banking measures that are designed to protect countries and consumers from the kinds of crashes that we saw globally economically in 2008. The text also presents a direct attack on Ontario's Green Energy Act, which includes popular and proven local content quotas with the intent of creating, fostering and growing the local green energy industry. The intellectual property chapter would also virtually eliminate the rights of farmers to save, reuse and sell seed, providing biotech, pharmaceutical, pesticide, seed and grain companies powerful new tools to essentially decide who should farm and how. Canadian negotiators have also included a controversial investor-state dispute mechanism, like the one in NAFTA. The Chapter 11 dispute process is allowed and encouraged large multinationals to sue North American governments for compensation against public health and environmental policies that limit their corporate profits. Some recent examples include Dow AgroScience's lawsuit against Quebec's pesticide ban and Bilcon's challenge to an environmental assessment that blocked its quarry in Nova Scotia. According to a CCPA report in 2008, 40% of these investor-state challenges in NAFTA have been against public health and environmental policy. Europeans know Canada as a climate criminal thanks to Harper's mockery of the UN climate talks and shockingly weak commitments in Obama's voluntary Copenhagen Accord. Now we're offering Europe an expensive and damaging investment protection pact that could help bring their own climate and environmental commitments down to our sad level. None of these issues affect trade as most Canadians would understand it, and in fact tariffs are very low in Canada and the EU. This agreement is about reaching behind borders, to restructure the Canadian and European economic landscape to make it more difficult to regulate corporate activity in the public interest. In that sense, it is hardly groundbreaking, but the same old corporate rights scheme that people, economists, and many governments are rejecting globally. The Trade Justice Network is releasing this text publicly to start a democratic debate about a comprehensive agreement with Europe. We need our cities to read this over and see where their powers and rights will be affected. We need provincial and federal opposition parties to challenge the scope and negotiating process of this agreement. Fundamentally, we need to ask ourselves if a NAFTA Plus agreement is the best solution to the new problems affecting our world, many of which were caused by exponential increases in production and trade. The network is also here to present a civil society declaration on the CETA, demands that we feel must be met before negotiations are allowed to proceed. These include, but are not limited to, a comprehensive impact assessment of the deal's potential impact on jobs, poverty, gender, human rights, farmers, culture, and the environment, fundamental protection for public services and an expansion of social policy, protection for the right to use public procurement as an economic development tool, and of the right to regulate in the public interest based on the precautionary principle, a commitment to strengthen labor and environmental protections and make them as binding, if not more binding, than investor guarantees, and a recognition of the primacy of Indigenous rights over corporate rights in Indigenous lands, territories, and waters. We will be holding a series of public forums over the course of this week to raise more questions and to raise public awareness about this proposed trade deal, while official negotiations are taking place this week in Ottawa. The first will take place in Ottawa tonight, with guest speakers from Europe participating by Skype through video presentations due to volcanic ash grounding flights from Europe and potentially trade from Europe. A full copy of the consolidated draft negotiating text has been posted on the Trade Justice website. We encourage as many people as possible to visit www.straightgoods.ca to download the text, take it to their elected officials, and to start the national debate